Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IT Power Hour for OneDrive versus SharePoint. Today, we're going to go over OneDrive and SharePoint. This is going to be a recorded meeting, so you guys are on mute. If you have any questions, please put those in the comment section. I'm sorry, in the chat section, and I will try my best to respond to those as we go through the outline. So the course outline for today is we're going to go over what is OneDrive and SharePoint. We're going to talk about like where to store your documents, where not to store them at. We're also going to go over the SharePoint site. And while we're on that site, we're going to talk about creating and working with folders, organizing and searching for files and folders, as well as sharing and editing permissions on files, adding alerts to files, checking version history. And then after we do that, we're going to go to the OneDrive site, and I'm going to show you guys the difference between the recycling bins. We're also going to sync up some folders locally, and we're going to remove those folders the proper way. We're also going to go over sync status, troubleshooting, and a couple of other things as well. Right. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to talk about what is SharePoint and what is OneDrive. So SharePoint is the creativedc.sharepoint.com site that we all go to. We go to this site to be able to access like news, different information, to be able to get to our quick links for timesheets and everything else, as well as to be able to get to our department drives for all of our data. So I've listed a proper definition for what SharePoint is, and SharePoint essentially is a central repository for all projects and departments. It is a secure place for us to store, organize, share, and access our information from anywhere. That means we can access it from our computers or from the cloud, whether it be whether it be our cell phones or any other device that has internet. SharePoint is the preferred location for you guys to store your team's documents, to be able to access, collaborate, and share together. All documents stored here are backed up and have versioning control. So what is OneDrive? Okay, OneDrive on the opposite side of it. It's very similar platform. It is a document file storage platform. It is used as a central location to store and access your personal files from either your computer or in the cloud, which could be your cell phone or other device with internet. The files stored in OneDrive are backed up and they have versioning control. OneDrive is also makes it easy for you guys to be able to share and collaborate on files, the same thing that you do in SharePoint. And it also cuts back on email attachments, and SharePoint does as well. Okay, so how do we know what to use and when to use it? So of course, both of these softwares, even though SharePoint is very different when it comes to file storage, they work very similar. So the biggest question is, how do I know what to store and when to store it where at? Okay, so that's a big question. So OneDrive. OneDrive should be for your drafts, personal documents, and everything that is stored here, to keep in mind, has low visibility. So the only people that can access documents that are stored in your OneDrive would be you and anyone else that you share those documents with. And on the flip side of it, SharePoint has high visibility. So everything that you save here should be your working team drafts, final copies, any company data that should be stored there, as well as data that is high value data. So if you're working on a huge project with a lot of billable hours and a lot of people working on it, the best place to start and create those documents would be in SharePoint. Um, as it has high visibility. So that means everyone in your department can access it, as well as those you share off those documents or links to or folders. And anything that you save in SharePoint is retrievable after you leave the company. So being that we say over here that OneDrive is definitely supposed to be for your personal documents, we want to make sure that you know that anything when you leave the company, anything that is on OneDrive will essentially be deleted 30 days later, because the idea is that all important department documents will be inside of SharePoint. So please make sure that you gotta save all of your personal stuff on OneDrive and all of your department stuff in SharePoint. And the reason why we tell you guys not to save things on your desktop is because we do not back up your computers. So if you come in to work tomorrow, or you try to turn on your computer tomorrow and it doesn't cut on, or you just have issues, or your laptop is lost or damaged, that the only data that's going to be retrievable is what's in SharePoint and in OneDrive. We do not back up you guys' computers locally, so if you have personal documents, the idea is that you guys will be able to save that to OneDrive, as it has low visibility. The only person can access that will be you and whoever you share it off to. So I'm just going to minimize this PowerPoint, and I'm going to go right into SharePoint. So just pull that up. Okay, so this is the old SharePoint site. There has been an update recently. So Kevin and his team, working with Kevin, Kadir, and all the other guys, they've actually updated our SharePoint site. So this is what it used to look like, and this is what it looks like now. So here, I'm just going to run through it really quickly on the homepage. Here you'll still find news and different updates that pertains to everyone. And then over here, you'll see staff whereabouts and staff directory. And if you scroll down, the quick links are now organized by what we use more frequently. And at the bottom, we have all our new faces. So these are all the new hires that have came on board with us. So that way you can see what they look like and a quick way to find them very easily. Over here, you're going to see more recent sites. So these are sites that I visit recently, as well as these are recent documents. This is very helpful when you guys go into meetings in different conference rooms, for you to be able to just click here and be able to see recent documents that you've opened, whether they be in SharePoint or OneDrive. And then up here, it kind of syncs with your calendar. So you will see different events coming up here that are on your calendar and that are available. So, and at the top, the different tabs, I'm just going to click on these real quick. They're pretty much haven't changed by much, but they're now all visible in one screen. So before, we used to have to scroll down the different projects, down a long list of projects. Now you can see them all visible in one screen. And over here, you have your resources, which I thought was very helpful. So that way everything is in one spot. And then under operations, I'm going to go to our new page. So under information technology, we now have a page called IT support. So I'm just going to go here and show you guys some of the things we talked about, just like creating folders and all that good stuff. Real quick though, this is our IT support page. So I'm just going to go over here into one of our folders. And I'll kind of go over the page with you guys towards the end of the meeting when we talk about support and how to gain support. I'm just going to go into one of our folders. So I'm going to go into instructions folder. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to create a file. I'm going to move a couple of files. And I'm going to share all some files, edit permissions, and do everything we can do from the internet, from SharePoint Online. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call it test folder. And the reason why I wanted to show you guys this is because, so if you have documents currently stored on your OneDrive or on your desktop and you want to just move them over to SharePoint, sometimes the easiest way to move it is just to drag and drop it. So I've created this folder here called test folder. I'm just going to minimize the screen. I'm going to pull up my file explorer. And minimize this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag over this folder called reports. Just wanted you guys to see how quickly it definitely uploads to the internet. And then I'm also going to go in here and I'm just going to move a file. So I want you guys to see how quickly it updates and uploads these files to SharePoint. So if you have files on your computer, simply just copy them over. And if you notice, when I move that over here, it didn't actually remove it from the original location. It just carried a copy over to where I want it to be stored at. Okay. And so the other option is that, so if you were to create a folder and say you already have a folder that's already set up in SharePoint and you want to create a document there, but you aren't sure how to save it to SharePoint, a way you can do it is just go to the page in the folder location where you want to store the document and just click on new. Well, one, you can upload the document from here, but if you want, you can also create it from here as well. So if you click on new, you can go here and let's do a Word document. So if I'm in Word, I'm just gonna name this test document. Okay, and I'm just gonna close this out. All right, so if you do not see that document pop up right away, just refresh your screen, and then you should see it. So here's the document that I created. Now, I didn't want to actually save it as document. I actually wanted to name it something different. So if this happens to you, click on the document. And what I'm doing is I'm clicking on the three dots here, which gives me all these additional options. And one of the options you should see is rename. So here I'm just going to rename it to test document. And I can access it from here. The name updated fairly quickly. And so what I would do is the next step I'm going to show you guys is how to share off those files. So if you have a file in SharePoint that you want to share off, just click on the three dots here and you see all these additional options. You can copy a link and share it to someone who already has access to that folder location. It will bring them directly into the document. Or you can come here and select the option to share. When you come in here and select the option to share, you can type in the person that you want to share it with. And you can even type them a message. Once I've added the people that I want to have access and I've typed the message, I can come over here and specify what they can do. So these specific people is who I want to be able to access it, but I do not want them to be able to edit it, and I want to block them from downloading it. And these are the options that I have to be able to choose what the person can do to the document that I created. Now, if the person already has access to this site, that may override that. But essentially for anyone else that you're sharing it off with, these settings will apply. And then anyone else, if we click here on the people with the link, you can also send the link off to anyone that you want to send it off to. So if it's a large group of people, you can just copy the link and then you can select these options as well. So you can also block people from editing it and then being able to download it as well. And then I'm going to go over here. Okay. And then once I've done that, I can go ahead and send that off. Or if I wanted to, I can copy the link and embed it into an email. But in this particular case, I'm just going to send it off. And the email should be sent to that user. Once that user receives that email and he opens up that document, we may end up getting an email. So essentially, here is a email. So I shared a document off with Nasir. And when he opened up that document at 7:08 on 4:30, it sent me email letting me know that the link that I sent to him was actually accessed and he was able to access the document. So it's confirmation that when I send a link off to someone, I'm sharing off a document, that that person is able to access that document and that they're able to, that they actually did access the document. Okay. All right, so let me just make sure that I'm covering everything. All right, version control and history. Okay, so if you click on a particular document, doesn't matter which one you do, you're going to see an option that says version history. If you click on version history, oh, actually, I'm sorry, you guys. Let me just step back a second back to the access. I wanted to show you guys how to remove someone's access first. So if you have to remove someone's access after you've already given them access, you can click on these dots here and go to manage access. Once you go here to manage access, then you should be able to see the people that you've given access to. So if you accidentally gave someone access to a document and you didn't mean to do that, or you accidentally select the wrong person in your address book, you can come in here and just simply remove their access. And once you remove their access, they will no longer be able to access, or when they click on the link, it will tell them that they do not have access to that document. If that happens, then you can simply just come back in here and share it back off to whomever it is that you intended to share it with. Okay, but I'm going to move forward to, again, version history. So again, if you click on these three dots here and you get your long list of options, one of the options is version history. If you click on version history here, you can see different things that were done to the document. So these are different versions. So I have 3 different versions here. These are the dates that they were modified, who they were modified by, and the size of them, as well as any comments that were on them. So what I'm going to do is, if I click on any of these documents, I can select the option to either delete, restore, or view that document. So view the document is the best option to do before you restore it, just to make sure you're restoring the document that you want to. In this particular case, I'm just going to select the option to restore. And as you see, I'm about to replace the current version with the selected version. And it is prompting me to make sure that that's what I want to do. So in this particular case, I'm going to select OK. And then now, as you see, it's added a different version at the top. The reason why is because it then just replaced these 2 versions with this one. But they still want to make these accessible just in case you made a mistake. Okay. So that's pretty much how you can restore a document. And this is usually helpful if you were working with someone else, or even if you, like me, got a 6-year-old hanging around here who accidentally deleted something off your computer, or well, not necessarily deleted something off your computer, but deleted some words out of your document, or even started editing the document in ways that you didn't want it to be edited. And you can also check this for other people too. So if you're not the only person who's edited the document, you'll see what everyone else has done to the document as well. And you have your options to select what you can do with them from version history. Okay. All right. So I have a question, which is, okay. All right, so I had a question, which is, someone told me that they didn't get the email whenever they share off a document with someone. So if that person's not, you're not seeing the email coming in showing that the person has actually accessed the document, there's something else you can do called an alert. So if you click on these 3 dots here, and we go to all our additional options, we have an option down here that says alert me. If you click on alert me, you can select different things, or you can select the title. You can select how you want the alert to come to you, whether it be a text message or via email, and you can select what you want the alerts for. It's best to just set it for anything if you're really just trying to see if someone opens it or if someone does anything with the document, that you can see those come through. And you can also select how often you receive those notifications. So if it's a document that you just want like a weekly summary to know if who's accessed it, then you just do a weekly summary. But if you really want to know when someone's doing it, the best thing to do is to leave it as immediate. Okay. All right, so I'm going to delete a file and show you guys how to recover that. So I've just shown you how to get back a previous version. But what happens if someone goes into your folder library and just delete your documents? I'm going to delete. There we go. I've just deleted all 3 documents. Okay, so if this happens to you and say someone else delete them, not even you can come simply over here to the recycling bin, and you should be able to see documents that you've deleted. And if we scroll down, I can even see documents here that Nasir has deleted and Kadir has deleted as well. It also shows me where those documents came from. So it shows me the folder location. In this particular case, I'm just going to go to my documents that I just uploaded. and I'm going to restore them back to the location that they were in. And this tells me where they restored it to. So I'm going to just go back to the site to make sure we end up in the right location. And the instructions. Okay, and test folders. So as you see, the folder is back now. So it comes back fairly quickly. These things are saved in here for a period of time. But if you notice something isn't there, definitely do it as soon as possible. As you see, this one goes back a couple months, a few months actually. So, but it's never guaranteed that these documents will be in here forever. So you definitely want to make sure that if someone accidentally deletes something, that you definitely try to restore that as soon as possible. Okay. And let me just go back a couple pages. Okay, let me check and see if I have any questions. Moving files. Okay, so if you create a file here and say you want to move it, so I'm just going to click on a file and say, for instance, like I didn't actually intend for this file to be in this folder location. I actually wanted to be in instructions. What you can do is you just click on the file itself. Once you check it off, you have a list of options at the top to copy, link, download, delete, pin to the top, rename. And then one of the options we have here is to move to. So you can either copy it to a different location or you can move it to a different location. But because I don't want to have too many copies out there, I'm just going to move to. So then what you would do is you can select, so this is still in the current database. I would just select current library and select the option to go into instructions is where I want it to be at. And then just click move here. Once I click move there, automatically it should disappear from that photo location. And then now it should be here under instructions. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and switch over to OneDrive. So I'm going to show you guys how to get to OneDrive. So this is SharePoint site. When you're on the SharePoint site, you can click on the waffles at the top. If you notice they're on any page that you click on, whether you're on the home page or any of these different pages, you should still see the waffles in the top left-hand corner. If you click on those waffles, you'll see a lot of the Office 365 applications. One of those applications will be OneDrive. So this is one way that you can get to OneDrive. And the other way would be if you go to office.creativedc.com. And this will take you to Office 365, where you can access all the Office applications, and one of those being OneDrive. So I'm going to go ahead into OneDrive. And so again, OneDrive is the location where you see I have all my private files. These are all my personal documents, except for the ones that I've shared with other people. And so one thing I want to show you guys really quickly is the recycling bin. So I just want to point that out because, well, the first thing I want to tell you is that everything that you can do that I just showed you in SharePoint can also be done from OneDrive. So if I click here, I can share a document off. I can manage the access from here. I can also, here, let me just click on the documents. I get all the options. I can also do version history from here. I can rename the document, delete it. Pretty much I can manage everything from here, as well as, which is the same functions that I can do from SharePoint with documents. Okay. But one thing that I do want to point out is because this is OneDrive, OneDrive is a separate software. So SharePoint, let me go back to my SharePoint site in the recycling bin. Okay. So when I click into recycling bin here, if you notice that the location of these documents and the documents are different, what you'll see here is these are on the site Help Desk Creative DC. These are on this site. So they're on the Help Desk site. The documents that are saved in OneDrive are in OneDrive. So I'm sorry, the documents that are deleted in OneDrive are in OneDrive. So if you look here, these are all located in my personal OneDrive account, which is melissa_creativedc.com. So these are all my documents that I've deleted here, and these are all documents that I've deleted from SharePoint, or that anyone else has deleted from this particular SharePoint page. So just keep that in mind. So if you've accidentally deleted a document from the synced folders on your desktop, whether it be OneDrive or SharePoint, that you would need to go to the website for either OneDrive to be able to access the recycling bin for those OneDrive documents, or go to the SharePoint site, and inside the document library, the recycling bin will reflect documents removed from that particular site. And if you are unsure if it was OneDrive or SharePoint, just check both. Okay, all right. So I'm going to switch back to the SharePoint site because the next thing we're going to talk about is syncing folders. So let me just go back a couple of pages. Okay, so if you want to sync up folders, it is a really simple process. So if I'm uploading, downloading documents to this site all the time, as you see, I've created a lot of these folders and documents here, but I don't want to have to go to the website to upload documents all the time, or to be able to edit and make changes and do all the things that I want to be able to do. Now, some things I will have to go to the website to be able to do when it comes to version control, or even being able to access the recycling bin. I'll need to come here. But I want to be able to just be able to access the documents from my computer. And if you want to do that, what you would need to do is just click sync. And when you click sync, you're going to get a message. It's going to ask you, it's going to be ready to connect your SharePoint folder to OneDrive. And so now it asks you, do you want to open the OneDrive application? And once that happens, it's going to sync that folder up to the location that it should be in. And so I'm just going to show you guys real quick. And I just want to point out another thing too. Okay, sorry, what just happened? Okay, I just want to point out another thing too, is that with OneDrive is automatically already synced to your computer. So mostly everyone is already set up like this, but the SharePoint folders aren't automatically added. So OneDrive here, all my personal documents are accessible from my computer already. But this particular folder that I just added, which was instructions, is down here. And that is the same folder that we see here. So I'm just gonna slide them next to each other so you guys can see. So as you see, the folders are the same. They're the same documents. They're all in the cloud, but they're now accessible from my computer. And then another thing I just want to note too is if you end up in a particular library, and say for instance, like, so I got instructions, but I actually wanted all those other folders too. So if that happens to you, what you can do is you can go back one document library, and as you see this, and you can navigate it through the top. So what I did was, there's a pathway here. If you click into that folder, it will take you into that folder. So this is the root folder for public documents. It has everything here that I want to be able to access. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sync this folder up. And as you see, it just populated here, and there is public documents, all for me to be able to access from my computer. Okay. All right. So like in this particular situation, I really wanted this folder that has instructions in it. I do not need another shortcut for instructions because everything is here under public documents. If this happens to you, or if you have, I know what happens is a lot of you guys work in projects, and say you're working in like 10 different projects, but 6 months later, you're not working in any of them other than one, and you have all these folders listed here that you do not need. If that happens to you, there is a way that you can remove those folders. Now, the one thing that we ask you guys to do is make sure that you remove them a proper way. So if you aren't sure, you can always reach out to us, but I'm going to show you how to do it on your own. So now you guys, I've just switched my screen settings. So now you should be able to see the date and time, and you should be able to see my toolbar at the bottom. So if you focus over here where the date and time is at, you see this icon here, this blue icon, this blue cloud, that is your OneDrive icon. And so this lets you know that OneDrive is running. It also gives you a status of different files that are recently uploaded or updated. Um, and it gives you other options too. So you can view it online from here just by clicking here. And then if you click on more, you have different options here as well. But one thing I wanted to point out again is because we're trying to remove instructions from, trying to remove that instructions folder over here. What we're going to do is if you click on the cloud and we're going to go to the option that says more and go to settings. Once you go into settings, you can see here which folders are being synced up. Okay, that's weird. That folder isn't there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unsync public documents. So let me just stop sync there and let's see if it just removes both folders. Oh, it did. Okay, cool. And if you get a little error message, okay. This has been happening when I remove them. We'll look into it, but it should still remove those folders. If you still see those folders here, you now should be able to delete them, being that you stop the sync. So once you stop the sync, any files that are saved locally will still be on your computer, but files that are in the cloud like these that show the cloud status will disappear. Okay. But I'm going to kind of sort of go to that folder location since I know where it's at. And I'm going to delete those folders to show you guys that you can actually do this without a problem. So again, not sure, it could be an update reason why I'm not seeing that Creative Associates folder there. But if I go into my profile, I can still see those folders saved on my computer. So if I want, I can easily just select and delete. That's pretty much it. Once I've deleted them, I'm not affecting anything that's in SharePoint because I properly unsynced them before doing so. That's the one thing that we ask you guys to make sure that you do. If you aren't sure, then definitely get help from the help desk on that. But what I'm going to go over next is reviewing the sync status. So if you guys noticed on these documents, you've seen a couple of clouds over here under status, but then you also see some documents that may have like, or folders that may have like check marks on them, solid green check marks. You see little people sitting next to them. You see a lot of different stuff here, right? Okay. So what I'm going to show you is this. Let me just pull up a document that I wanted to share with you guys. Okay. Okay. All right, let me just put this in full screen mode. Okay. All right. So these are the different sync statuses. So these few 6 statuses up here relate to the actual icon over here in your bottom right hand corner. And these over here relate to actual documents itself. So I'm just going to review these first. So the first one is the same one that you see in my bottom right hand corner is the one you always want to see. If you see when I hover over it, it tells me that OneDrive is up to date. That is what you always want to see. You do not want to see it with a red X on it or grayed out. If it's grayed out, that means you're not signed into OneDrive. You should definitely click on the icon and make sure you sign in. This can cause issues if you are wondering why you can't access files from your OneDrive location. that's because you're not connected to OneDrive. So always make sure that you click on it and log in if it's being prompted, or it may even be authentication. So check your phone and make sure you're not being prompted to approve your sign in. This one here is a bad one to see. It's a red X. It's clearly telling you there's something wrong. So if you see this red X, click on the icon itself. When you click on it, it's going to give you a notice at the top, and it's going to tell you that something is wrong. Either there's a conflict with your document, or it can't upload your document anymore, and you need to close it out and reopen it back up. If this does happen, definitely address it as soon as possible. Do not wait time. The reason is because if you're working on a document that has upload failure or there's conflicts, what's going to happen is if it's a large document, and normally this happens when you have multiple people working on the same document at the same time. Actually, that's the only time I've ever seen this happen, is when you have multiple people working on a document at the same time. So it is very important that if you see a red X, to click on the error message itself and to address it immediately. Now this one right here, the cloud with the circles, the arrows circling around, that tells me that my OneDrive is syncing up. It tells me that it's updating some documents, or it's pulling in some new updates. This is also something that you do not want to leave at the end of the day. You also want to make sure that if you have any documents open, that you close them, so that way they fully sync up when you're finished with them. So if you still see this running, make sure you close out all your documents to make sure they actually sync up if you're done for the day. And then these two down here, so whenever you pause your sync, this is something you will have to select, or can accidentally do it if you lose internet. If that does happen to you, then what you should do is, well, let me just show you how someone can pause OneDrive. If you click on the OneDrive icon in the bottom right hand corner by date and time, and you click on more, there's an option here to pause sync for 2, 8, and 24 hours. So if I pause the sync, if you notice now, my icon now looks like this icon here. It's a blue cloud with a pause symbol on it. If you see this, you definitely don't want to leave that like that, just because if you are working on documents that are in SharePoint, they're not updating. And if you're working on with a team, they're not seeing your changes. So if that happens to you, just click on the icon itself, go to more, and then resume sync. And then it will then check everything and pull that data into OneDrive or SharePoint, depending on what folder it's in. And then here, the icon with the warning symbol, this actually just indicates that there is an error message. There is a problem. If you see this 90% of the time, it has something to do with your login, or has something to do with your internet connection. Most of the time, I've seen it being an internet connection problem. So if this happens to you, the best thing to do is to address it. You can click on OneDrive and it'll tell you what the problem is, or you can just simply reboot your computer and hope that that works. If not, then reach out to the help desk. Okay, and then these options here, I'm just going to switch over real quick. Now on the Glimmer, I'm just going to tell you real quick, the Glimmer just means it's a new document. So when I was in here, let me go back one. You see the glimmers here, that means it's a new document or a new file. And that's the easiest way to tell the difference between the two. All right. And let me just open up my OneDrive to show you the other icons and how we get those. Okay. So the cloud with the person. The cloud with the person, or let me just say this first, the cloud. The cloud means that this document is only accessible from the cloud. If I lose internet connection, I will not be able to access this folder or these documents with the clouds on them, whether they have a person next to them or not. That just means that they're a cloud document. Now, the person that sits right next to it just indicates that at some point in time, I shared off this document. And so I'm just going to show you guys. So if you shared off this document, you aren't sure who those people are, what you would need to do is go to the folder location online. Let me just pull it up real quick. My OneDrive. If you're unsure, you can tell over here on the OneDrive site, you have the option, you have the category here that says sharing. And so I can tell this one was shared out. And so if I wanted to, I can go here and click Manage Access. This can be done from the OneDrive site, but is not available for you to do from the other site, from which would be from here. Okay. And let me go back because it looked like I shared it off. I don't see one listed there. So maybe I just shared the link off. Let me check one of these other shared files to show you guys. Manage access. Okay, so yeah, I've given these people access. Okay, so it didn't list them up here, but it listed them down here. And that's probably because it wasn't a link that gave them access. I just shared it off. So again, check both places. And down here, I can edit their ability and what I want them to do. Okay. All right. Or I can stop sharing it to them as well. But I'm gonna leave those as is. Okay. All right, so and then the other one is the green check mark. So if you notice here, I'm just going to look at a file that doesn't have a green check mark. So this one doesn't have a green check mark. This one is in the cloud. When I open up this document, if you noticed immediately, well, now it's pending sync because I closed it out. It wants to make sure it syncs up any changes, but it also changed to a green check mark. What that then does is it makes it available on this device. It is kind of sort of a feature that is helpful if you were to lose internet all of a sudden. So if you open up a document and next thing you know, you lose internet, it doesn't shut that document out or cause it to crash because it then had already saved a copy locally on your computer. If your OneDrive is getting full and say you have a lot of files that you don't need to be able to access, but they're saving on your computer, you can easily just right click on those files and you can select the option that says free up space. And this won't delete the document, but what it will do is it will remove it from your computer and make it only accessible from the internet. Okay. All right. And then last but not least, so if you are traveling abroad and say, I haven't accessed these folders yet, but this particular folder here, I know that while I'm on the plane, I need to make some changes to these documents. I want to make sure that they're always on my device. So if I right click on the document or the folder, I can select the option that says always keep on this device. Once I do that, it turns into a green check mark, which means that it is always available on this device, whether I have opened up those files or not. It's a great feature, especially if you're traveling, to be able to use this. And this is also beneficial because this is kind of like the reason why we like things on our desktops, because we know that they're always available whether we lose internet or not. This is also a way that you can make sure that it's always available on your computer. It's by right clicking and selecting the option to always keep on this device. And these things can be changed whenever you want. Okay. And of course, the moving arrows on documents. And if you see, like, let me scroll down here, this particular one, the OneDrive versus SharePoint. This is saved on my, it's currently saved on my OneDrive. And if you notice here, it's still showing the spinning circle. It says sync pending. The reason why it is doing that is because I have the document open. So if you are concerned about documents being uploaded or if there's an issue with sync, definitely just close out the document. And then once you close it out, this should update within a minute or so. Or you can check your status over here and it will show you that those documents have been updated or uploaded recently within the last couple of minutes or seconds. Okay. So that's pretty much sync status. Let me just go back over our PowerPoint and make sure we aren't missing anything. Okay, the padlock. So the padlock is there because you do not have access to that file. So if you sync up a folder from SharePoint, and it usually happens then because anything on OneDrive is yours. But if you sync up a folder in SharePoint and there are certain subfolders that have these padlocks on them or documents, what that indicates is that you do not have access to those documents. If that was to happen and there are things that you need to be able to access, either you should contact the author of those folders or you can reach out to us and we can get you access. So I think we kind of discussed all these best practices. If it's grayed out, that means you need to sign in. The red X, definitely click on your icon over here and address those issues. And then the pausing and then the syncing. We addressed how to address those issues. All right, let me just be sure. Okay. All right, so helpful tips. So when you guys are leaving for the day, you should always make sure that you close out and save all your documents. Definitely want to do this just in case someone like me who likes to work late at night, you go in and you try to edit a document, and then the next morning, my coworker comes in and tells me that I didn't see the changes that he had already made to that document. So I end up editing a document that wasn't updated, and it just becomes a waste of work. So just make sure that you guys save all your documents and close them out. And then also you want to make sure that OneDrive is still not processing those files. So again, if you have them open, it may still show it as processing. You're not 100% sure if all your changes were synced up. You definitely want to close out that document first. And if you have any error messages, definitely address those as well. And then also, if OneDrive is processing and it's still processing and you have that doc, so if I close this out and it's still showing me that it's still processing changes, if I have another PowerPoint open or other documents that OneDrive is syncing up, just close out all your documents and programs, and that will either allow your computer to speed up the syncing process or for it to actually sync up all documents and for you to for sure know that your documents are synced with SharePoint or OneDrive. Okay. Coordinate the job tasks with your team. So one thing that happens often, and we've done a lot of testing with this, is that if you guys are working with a large group of people on one particular document, that you want to coordinate what parts of the document you're working on at which times. So if I have a 10-page document and I'm working on page 1 and 2 that needs to be reviewed by someone else, that I kind of coordinate with them that I will review it first and that they can access it after I know that it has been updated to SharePoint and I can see those changes there. So you definitely want to do that. And the reason why we say this is because if you receive a message that says that a document needs to be combined, you will want to do that before someone else starts working on that document to resolve any conflicts. Or if you have an upload failure, for you to make sure that you close that document out or save it locally to your computer, open it back up and compare it to the document that is in SharePoint. The reason why this happens, where people have conflict issues when working with a group of people on a document, it could be internet connection. With everyone working from home, my internet connection may be really good, and the person that I'm working with, their connection may be not as good. And if we're working on the same page and same paragraph, SharePoint, we can change a word from can to and it be just one of us. And next thing you know, SharePoint just doesn't know what to do. It's then confused because of there are too many people working in the same section at the same time. So then it'll prompt you and tell you can't upload your document, or it'll prompt you and tell you that there are conflict issues. So just try to work with you guys' team and just try to be understanding that technology is not perfect. So even though we can do things where we can work on the same document at the same time, we should still be mindful of what parts we're working on and all the other different parts of technology to kind of play into why we have issues with conflicts and version control, version issues. Okay. All right. And then managing your data when you're departing from creative. So when you guys leave the company, again, let me just go back a few slides to reiterate this again. Okay. OneDrive should have your personal documents, and SharePoint should have your company data. When you leave the company, we assume that you have moved all of all of Creative's data over to SharePoint and that your manager is able to access it. This is really important because when you leave the company, we assume that everything that is in OneDrive is personal documents or data. So we don't make it immediately accessible to your manager unless requested. And after 30 days, if no one requests it, then it's deleted. The assumption is that all important data is saved in SharePoint, okay? All important data is saved in SharePoint. All right, so just look back forward. Okay. Addressing guest access. So this has been a question that people ask us every so often for consultants or for people in the field to be able to access our creativedc-sharepoint.com site, whether it be your department page or other parts of the site that you want them to be able to access. There will be an email that will come out over the next week or two from Kadir or from Kevin and his team, and they will be addressing the new ability for you guys to be able to invite guests to SharePoint. So it's going to be a form that you guys can fill out online, and it will have an approval process. So it kind of makes it streamlined and easy for you guys to kind of sort of get consultants access to SharePoint as well as people in the field. Now, we can still do this right now. This is a capability that we've had in the past, but right now, if you would like to do that, you will need to put in a help desk ticket. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So I'm just going to go back to the IT support page to kind of sort of just show you guys our page. This is a new web page that we recently deployed with the new site. There are events over here. So for the IT power hours, they will be listed here, and we'll post them here first. You have frequently asked questions. Some of these are just quick answer questions like, should staff use OneDrive or SharePoint? There's an explanation of why you should use SharePoint over OneDrive or what you should use OneDrive for. What happens if I break in company issue computer? So these don't really require instructions. They just may be quick answer questions. So you can click under frequently asked questions and you can see that there. And under here, if we were to go to IT Power Hour presentations, so this particular presentation for the for SharePoint versus OneDrive, it will be uploaded to recordings. And if you click in there now, you will find other recordings that we done. This was something I did for someone, but I recorded it. It's for Office 365 Teams and Zoom. And these are specifically for Zoom and Teams. So these are the videos, and more will build up in here over time. Right now, we just have the ones that we've done so far. But every time we do another recording or another presentation, they will be added to the Power Hour. And the hopes is that we will build a database with time. And if you go in here under instructions, if you go to instructions, under here, you will find some more detailed instructions. So like one of the biggest things that people always come to me about is the phones. So if you come in here under phones, you can find instructions on how to set up your phone and all the apps on your phone. Also like updating company portal, the app on your phone, or backing up your phone to iCloud. And you'll also find other things in here too. So like what we just discussed, the OneDrive versus SharePoint, the sync status, that document is here, as well as SharePoint co-authoring. There's a document here as well. So those are the things that we have available for you guys now on our IT site. And let me just scroll back one more and show you guys something else. There. So down here under news, so we're going to be pushing these out weekly or bi-weekly, and they're just going to be different news updates for you guys that may be really interesting. So the first one that I posted was the new Teams background feature. So if you click on the actual news link, you will see what it's about, which is the new Teams feature is now available. You can change your background effects. And as you can see, here's iBeck with this really cool background. They also have backgrounds here that are more home-like. So if you don't have an appealing background in your house, these are great for that, or if you want to look like you're in office. This right here is a quick video. If you click on it, it will take you to a video that is about 1.5 minutes long, and it's going to show you how Teams backgrounds actually work. And if you want, right below that, there are paper instructions. These are 4-step instructions, very simple. When you join a meeting, you know what to do and how to see those different backgrounds. Okay. So these will be coming out weekly, and then you can also leave comments down here. So if you guys feel that there are some issues or there are some things you want to mention that are not included in these news articles, that you guys can post to them or just leave us a positive comment like, hey, this was very helpful. So we like to hear good things like that too. And then also under links, I'm just going to click into each of these. Here is where you'll find the document for the T-Mobile discount. No, I'm sorry. This is the link for T-Mobile discount or the link for the T-Mobile coverage while abroad. And we'll add more stuff to these as time go on for you guys to be able to access or just for you guys to be able to see. And if there are certain things that you guys feel that your department wants to know or learn about, always feel free to send us messages. Send them to me directly via Teams, or just send me an email or put in a help desk ticket, whatever you prefer. And essentially, we will reach out to you, or if there are instructions that we feel that will be beneficial to everyone, we'll create them and make sure that they're available on the site here. So let me get back to the biggest question though. So if you can't find your answer here under any of these folders or on the FAQ, if you click here, you can create a new help desk ticket. And you could just come here and put in a new request, or for you guys in the field, just reach out to Roger Plath. If there's something I can help him with, he'll definitely let me know. He's pretty good with making sure that we stay in contact with each other. And with that being said, let me just switch over to the next slide. The team. So this is a team. So this is our department, which is operations, information part of it, information technology part of it. So Mario is our leader. And over here you have Kevin. Kevin and his team are the guys who work with the SharePoint. They're also the guys who actually created that new site for us. This is Roger here. As you see, we work under the same team. We work on different sides of the team. He's field and I'm HQ, but we work together often, fairly often, every single day. So if you guys need help with anything in the field, feel free to reach out to Roger. And if he needs my assistance, he'll reach out to me as well. And of course, these guys over here, these are the guys who work on the back end of things, our server team. So when things aren't working right, they're the ones who are helping us out. And with that being said, I think that's it. So I'm just going to switch over to questions. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the chat section. I will answer those for you guys right now. So if there's any questions, please let me know. And so I have one question on here, which is, can field employees access the site? Yes, you guys can access the site at request. So you can put in a ticket and you can gain access to the site if it's approved. You definitely should have a purpose to be able to access the site. As far as the IT support page goes, all the videos and instructions, Roger are placing those in a location that you guys can get to. So if you want to access those recordings, Roger will share those off with you within the next day or so once I'm able to finalize everything and send them over to him. Okay. Okay, I got another question about the 256 character error. Okay, so one of the error messages that some people see inside of OneDrive is the 256 characters. If this happens to you, the reason why that's happening is because the folder location. So let me just switch over real quick and show you something. Okay, so if you have a folder inside of a folder, inside of a folder, inside of a folder, it's a pathway. So at the top, there's a character pathway. So if I have like a folder here, so say for instance, okay, we have 2020, then we have Q1, then we have January, then we have week 1, then we have day 1, then we have hour 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're all separate folders. You're going to probably start having issues with that. The reason why is because these pathways can only be up to 256 characters long. So if that happens to you when you're trying to save a file inside of one of these subfolders, what you need to do is you probably need to just reorganize your folders and move them closer up to the root folder itself. Okay. Any other questions? All right, so if that's it, I'm going to go ahead and end this call. I will still be looking in the chat section for the next couple of minutes until this is over. But unless you guys have any other questions, that's going to be it. And also, thank you guys for attending my session today. Next week or in the next couple of weeks, we're going to do an IT Power Hour on Forms, Microsoft Forms. So just keep a lookout for that or check our website out. All right, thank you guys.